KENTAMED RF-B is a 4 MHz unit with an extremely wide spectrum of clinical applications. What makes this unit so unique is the fact that it combines soft and fine operating modes so typical for the 4 MHz technology with operating modes that would mimic the behavior of a conventional electrosurgical unit. The model has 4 different load curves that grant a hardware-adjusted response to changes in tissue. Moreover, every one of these load curves reacts to both tissue type and tissue alternation in its own unique way. From a doctor's standpoint, this makes the different operating modes very specific and distinguishable. That's another reason for the user to get familiar with the proper use of the unit in various clinical scenarios. Also, in addition to the bipolar coagulation mode, the unit has a specially adjusted mode for bipolar cutting that has been extremely useful to physicians from different specialties like plastic surgery, ENT, proctology, and others. KENTAMED RF-B is a floating type device, which means that the outlets of the unit are not referred to the ground electric potential. This guarantees higher level of safety, especially for patients under anesthesia who may come in contact with grounded objects in the operating room. There are 2 main sections on the front panel, yellow for cutting and blue for coagulation. From the yellow section, the user can pre-select one operating mode for cutting. The power setting of the pre-selected mode is shown on display. Similarly, one operating mode for coagulation can be pre-selected from the blue section. In each section, there are up and down buttons for power or time adjustment. The settings are shown on the corresponding displays. KENTAMED RF-B stores the settings for all operating modes in energy-independent memory, so these settings will be available even if the unit is switched off and back on again. The controls for the timer function are situated next to the blue section. The timer can be preset from 0 to 10 seconds with a step of 0.1 second, and if activated, it will automatically terminate the high-frequency power when the preset time has elapsed. If we look again at the operating mode selection buttons, we will see that the fine cutting and soft coagulation that provide gentle monopolar operation are located in the first row. These are the modes that will give you all the advantages of the 4 MHz technology when using monopolar accessories. In the second row, we will find the powerful monopolar modes that resemble the behavior of a conventional electrosurgical unit. It is very important to realize that although the modes can have the same maximal power setting, their tissue effects are not the same because the different operating modes are designed to react to alternations in the live tissue differently. For example, only 30 watts may be sufficient to perform a cut with thin electrode in heavy cut mode, but at least 70 watts will be required when cutting with a needle in fine cut mode. Fine cut automatically drops the power very quickly as the tissue gets desiccated in order to prevent from too much coagulation. On the other hand, fine cut will deliver a nice cut in water environment at around 100 watts setting, while heavy cut, as many other conventional electrosurgical units, will fail in this situation. Bipolar cutting and bipolar coagulation are located in the third row within the corresponding sections, yellow for cutting and blue for coagulation. KENTAMED RF-B has 3 safety features. The neutral electrode safety feature protects against activating the monopolar modes of the unit when the neutral electrode is not properly attached. The power failure system is activated when the unit detects discrepancy between the preset power and the actual power supplied to the applied parts and accessories. The overheating safety is triggered when the unit is overheated. It usually takes several minutes for the unit to cool off. This may happen if KENTAMED RF-B is constantly and heavily used in surgical procedures that last more than 2 hours. Any of these safety systems, if activated, will automatically turn off the high-frequency power. The high-frequency power outlets are located in the lower section of the front panel. The neutral electrode cable gets connected to the socket on the left-hand side. It is strongly recommended to use only single-use, self-sticking split-type electrodes. They allow the neutral electrode monitoring system to control not only the integrity of the neutral cable, but also the quality of the contact with the patient. The socket in the middle is where the 2-button finger switch pencil is connected. When the unit is in monopolar modes, it can be activated either by pressing the button with the corresponding color on the finger switch or by foot switch with the same color. The cable for bipolar accessories is connected to the last socket. In bipolar modes, the unit is only activated by the foot switch. The foot switch cable is connected to the back of the unit, where the user can also see the knob for volume adjustment. Fine cut is specially designed to work with thin electrodes like needles and loops, providing cuts with minimal coagulation that will eventually heal faster and accumulate minimal amounts of scar tissue. In other words, fine cut mode is suitable for skin incisions, taking biopsy samples, and other clinical applications that may require minimal damage to the tissue, just like when cutting with a scalpel, but still with much less bleeding. Power needs to be adjusted to a level that will allow the electrode to move without any effort, but not much higher than that. When a loop electrode is used, a bit more power may be needed because of the working length of the electrode. Once again, the cuts are clean with minimal coagulation. Fine cut mode can also be used for conization procedures. Soft coagulation mode will always perform white non-carbonizing coagulation. A sphere would be the most common electrode for the soft coagulation. A specific feature of this operating mode is that the longer the power is applied, the deeper the coagulation becomes. The coagulation can easily reach depths close to 1 centimeter. It's important to note that while the coagulation gets deeper and deeper, the area of contact with the electrode does not carbonize. The unit effectively adjusts the output power, varying from the preset value to only about 10% of it, in order to achieve adequate thermal effects, namely conversion of the collagen and other biopolymers into gelatin-like coagulated substance that has residual elastic properties. This is crucial for effective long-term prevention of recurrent bleeding, and formation of hard carbon particles that may easily peel off is avoided. Due to the high maximal output power, which is 130 watts, the sphere can be as large as 1 centimeter in diameter. The soft coagulation mode at extremely low power setting, on the order of 10 watts let's say, and with large electrodes around 2 cm in diameter, is also very effective for skin tightening procedures. Fine cut and soft coag are operating modes that have their power peaking at very low tissue resistance. This makes them very suitable for working in wet environment. You can see that the sphere can boil the water as it coagulates the tissue at the bottom. Then, using fine cut, we can cut in water environment too. Heavy cut is an operating mode that resembles the behavior of a conventional electrosurgical device, yet with less sparking and carbonization due to the 4 MHz technology and a specially adjusted load curve. This mode can be used with large blades, and it will cut with ease through various types of tissue. For example, in open surgery, a surgeon will be able to make an abdominal incision even through a very thick layer of fatty tissue. Force coag is a sparking coagulation specially designed to stop capillary bleeding for a short period of time, or in other words, to quickly clean up the operating field. A small sphere would be the most common electrode, but the wide side of the cutting blade can also be used for forced coagulation. This operating mode can also perform the so-called tissue melting. B-coag is an operating mode that provides extremely soft and clean bipolar coagulation without any carbonization. Of course, The bipolar forceps is the most common instrument, but great variety of specialty-specific instruments can be also used. As an example, different tissue volume reduction instruments from the ENT practice work perfectly well in soft coag mode. The white, non-sticking coagulation, combined with the penetrating abilities of the high frequency, results in outstanding volume reduction. The maximal output power of 130 watts allows the use of long bipolar needles as well as clamps that can provide excellent vessel sealing for blood vessels as large as 4 mm in diameter. P-cut, as already mentioned, is an operating mode specially designed for cutting with the bipolar forceps. It has been successfully used for tonsillectomy in ENT surgery, for breast enlargement in plastic surgery, for treatment of hemorrhoids and proctology. The forceps cuts easily, providing sufficient coagulation at the same time. If while cutting, the physician identifies a small blood vessel or other structure that may require pure bipolar coagulation, all they will need to do is pressing the blue fluid switch and coagulate with the same forceps. In other words, the unit can be activated alternatively in either bipolar cutting or bipolar coagulation mode by just pressing the corresponding foot switch. If the timer is activated, the high frequency power will be terminated after the preset time has elapsed. Once again, the timer can be preset from 0 to 10 seconds with a step of 0.1 second. This is a useful function in clinical situations where the physician has to perform a large number of repetitive manipulations. The time will guarantee reproducibility of the tissue effects. KENTAMED RF-B is a very safe 4 MHz floating type unit with large number of distinguishable operating modes. Due to this, the placement of the neutral electrode is critical for the performance, especially in soft coagulation and fine cutting modes. The neutral electrode should be placed as close as possible to the operating field. Good contact between the neutral electrode and the patient's skin is essential. It is strongly recommended to use only split-type, self-sticking, single-use neutral electrodes in order to allow the unit to monitor the quality of the contact with the patient. The line that separates the two conductive areas of the neutral electrode should be pointed towards the operating field. Proper selection of the active electrodes is also essential. So, before you introduce KENTAMED RF-B into your clinical practice, please perform the following 3 steps in order to secure both patient and personnel safety and immaculate performance of the device. Read carefully the user manual. There is a lot of useful information in it, as well as some very important safety warnings. Make sure that the power outlets in the operating room are properly installed and grounded. Install the unit in its typical position in the operating room. Attach a single-use neutral electrode to the bottom of a basin made of metal and put inside it a piece of wet gauze. As you're doing this, pay attention to the status of the neutral electrode light on the front panel. After you attach the basin to the neutral electrode, the light will be switched off. Connect the active cables and the accessories to KENTAMED RF-B and preset the unit to maximal power in each operating mode. Activate the unit using the wet gauze as a phantom. Keep your hands away from the edges of the basin. Carefully monitor the behavior of the rest of the electrical equipment in the operating room for critical interferences. If you experience any difficulties, please contact us. Our partners and representatives will be glad to assist you. In conclusion, KENTAMED RF-B is a reliable, built-to-serve and last unit that merges all known advantages of the 4 MHz technology with a great variety of specially adjusted operating modes that cover extremely wide spectrum of clinical applications. The device is so capable and safe that it has already become the equipment of choice for many physicians from different specialties. For more information, testimonials, and contact information, please visit www.kentamed.com.